Hey everyone, hello, is it me you're looking for? I probably wasn't. Self-isolation is probably driving me a bit insane at the moment, but if you're looking for me, thank you very much. Today's video is very simple. I've got updated BIOS. So I've got builds that I'm doing for my mum and brothers and basically my family. And I am using a 1600 AF. So I'm going to have to update the BIOS for the motherboard. So I want to get to that. So here are the parts that we'll be using. We will be using a Silverstone Triter Plus Bronze 650 watts ST65F-PB power supply. A neat little unit. And the motherboard that we're using is a B450M Mortar Max from MSI. It is part of the Arsenal gaming series. It says AMD 3000 desktop ready on the box, but that does not mean that it is ready for the 1600 AF. So that's why we're going to be updating the BIOS. And we will be using BIOS flashback to do so. Everything's plugged in, everything is turned on. So what we now need is a USB stick. And what you do, this is how it works for MSI, is you go onto the on their websites for the motherboard, you download the latest BIOS, you unzip it, you get the actual file for the BIOS in that unzipped folder, you rename the whole thing to msi.rom, and you put that file, you copy and paste it, so essentially you're saving it, to the root of the USB drive. And the thing to remember is also that the USB drive has to be a FAT32 format as well for this to work. Okay, so now with all that, we've got everything that we need, the motherboard, power supply, USB stick with the BIOS on it. We're going to update the BIOS. Now, obviously you've got to put the USB stick into a USB port. There is a specific port to put it in. For me, it's the one right next to the flash BIOS button. So for me, it's the one right next to the flash BIOS button. It's the last one on that little section there, little block. Your mileage may vary. For you, it might be on a different port. To how I understand it, the port that this motherboard is using for flash BIOS is actually pretty standard, but do check your manual first. And then now all that there is to do is just push the little button. There we go. Now let me take this off the tripod. As you can see, lights are on. The USB drive isn't doing anything at the moment, but that should change. But there's a little flashing light here. So it's going to be a few minutes. The USB drive should actually eventually start flashing again. But what we're waiting for is for this light to stop flashing. And when the light stops flashing, the BIOS has been flashed. There we go. So again, this is a pretty simple process. You don't need your CPU, you don't need a RAM, you don't need a GPU in to flash your BIOS. All you need is a motherboard, power supply, and a USB stick with the new BIOS on it. If you're using this method, if you are going to go out and buy a B450 motherboard though, do make sure that it has the feature on if you're wanting the feature. Obviously, not all B450 motherboards do have them. All X570 motherboards do have BIOS flashback though. And there we have it. I don't know if you can see the little light. I've tried to angle it. Let me just angle this down a bit more. As you can see, the little lights that would be about here-ish somewhere has stopped flashing, and also the USB drive has stopped flashing as well. So that means that the process is over. The BIOS has now been flashed. Awesome. Now, one thing I do want to mention is, especially if you're a new builder, you may not know this, don't lay the motherboard on the plastic that it comes in, because while it may have changed, it's still common practice amongst anyone and everyone that knows how to build a computer that the inside is anti-static, but the outside isn't. That static could kill your motherboard. So don't lay the motherboard on the plastic that it comes in. But the motherboard box is a perfect surface to test bench your system and to put the motherboard on for a safer environment. And there we have it. That there is how you update your motherboard's BIOS. Do excuse the mess in my house. It is early morning. I didn't feel like cleaning up yet. So yeah, it's a pretty simple process. Other motherboards will be a very similar process. The one thing that would be different is one, how long the updates may take, but also possibly which USB port you put your USB stick in. But that would be the only differences. Everything else would be the same. So yeah, it's a pretty straightforward process. It's really simple. Anyway, that there is really all I have. Do subscribe to this channel. I have this build that I am using this motherboard for coming up very soon. There might be another video before it, but it is coming up. But anyway, I want to thank you all for watching. Do subscribe. Have that bell notification turned on if you feel like it. See ya.